Fantastic. So just to give you a little bit of insight into what we do, obviously everything that relates to sports within Abu Dhabi University is led by Nemanja and myself. So that means that varsity teams and sports teams that participate in the Abu Dhabi Inter-University Sports League is overseen by myself and Nemanja. Nemanja, obviously, as mentioned, he coaches the men's basketball team. I am the coach of the men's football team. We also oversee all the female sports teams and the respective female coaches of those teams. We also host a wide variety of recreational sports programs within the university on a yearly basis. So we have dodgeball tournaments, basketball tournaments, football tournaments that we host to kind of keep students active and participating in organized sports throughout the year. We have recently opened up 2 state-of-the-art gyms on our campus that we also oversee with a wide variety of equipment that you can use to meet all your fitness and health goals. In addition to this, we partner with third-party sports entities like Red Bull. So every year, the Neymar Junior 5-a-side football tournament is held on our campus. One of the qualifiers for the UAE national competition is held on our campus. And we're really excited about that. And that's something that I know all of our students always look forward to on a yearly basis. In addition to this, we also have our ADU Combine, which is this kind of physical testing protocol that we created, which is a really, really cool protocol that we adopted from the NBA and the NFL, things like this that you see, that basically we take student athletes as well as community members, and we just do some really basic tests like 30-meter sprints or vertical leap. These are all things that they can use to kind of measure their progress in their own fitness goals. And lastly, of course, we have our exercise and nutrition seminars. So that's something that we're going to be sharing with you today, and we're very excited about. So today's seminar is really just going to be about weight loss and some of the kind of fundamental concepts that relate to weight loss, as well as Nemanja is going to touch a little bit on how to develop your own exercise program. So hopefully we can kind of lay out some basic concepts for you guys. And in return, we would love it for you guys to reach out, ask us questions. Honestly, there's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to this topic, because it's a really, really broad topic. And we encourage you guys to raise your hand or place your questions in the Q&A section. Ask us, because we would be really, really happy to address anything that you have in your mind or anything that we present to you today. Our presentation is not super long because we rather encourage kind of discussion from you guys as students, and hopefully we can inform you a little bit more about your own personal goals. So Nemanja, anything to add before we start, or can I jump in?
You can jump in, because I believe people are waiting for some words.
All right, sounds good. So to start off with, we're going to talk about how our weight is defined. So your weight is defined basically by 2 main kind of components that are always trying to balance each other out. And that's your energy expenditure and your energy intake. Now, your energy intake is basically all the food and drink that you may consume on a daily basis. And your energy expenditure is basically everything that you partake in, all the activity that you do within a daily basis to kind of, whether it's to keep yourself alive, like your heart beating or your lungs inflating, deflating for you to breathe, or when you walk to school, when you walk home, when you take the stairs, whatever it may be, this is all part of your energy expenditure. And weight loss happens when we are able to increase our energy expenditure beyond our energy intake. And then weight gain takes place when energy intake supersedes energy expenditure. So being able to kind of balance these 2 things out is really, really important. And it's basically how you balance these, which will lead to either weight loss or weight gain. So actually, I'm just going to stop right here for a second, because I see that there might be some questions already. So I'm just going to take a look to see if no, it seems like we're all right. Okay, perfect. Sorry, am I missing any questions that people are asking right now, or?
At the moment, I don't see any questions related to our topic.
Fantastic. Okay, no worries. I'll move forwards. So talking firstly about what energy intake is. So as mentioned, energy intake, it really relates to whatever food and beverages that we drink. And when it comes to the food and beverages, it's making the right choices. So you have a choice between nutrient-dense foods and calorically dense foods. Now, nutrient dense foods is kind of what you see below here. You have your fish, like your salmon, your broccoli, your spinach, your grapefruit, your oats. These are all foods that have, that are rich in nutrients that are needed to maintain your healthy body. But then there are more kind of easier choices and delicious foods like our pizzas, our chocolates, our donuts, and these are all more our calorically dense foods. And the tricky things about these things is that if I eat a smaller amount of these foods, I increase the number of calories that I take because they just have too many calories as opposed to more nutrients. So what you can see here in this example is that on a diet of, let's say, about 1,470 calories, you can break that down into a full day of eating. So there's about 12 different items here that you can break down into a full day of eating. That same amount of calories can be consumed with a very common kind of coffee run in the morning, that maybe someone will grab a iced cappuccino, a little breakfast sandwich, and maybe a small slice of cake. And all of a sudden you've eaten the same amount of calories that you would eat in an entire day. So it's important to understand that the choices that you make in your energy intake really, really influence whether or not you're able to have a successful weight loss program. So understanding the calories behind the food choices that you make is very, very important. So I guess the next question is, what is a calorie exactly? And the calorie is basically the unit of measure used to quantify the amount of energy that's present in any given amount of food or drink that you may consume. And the cool thing about calories is that they are found everywhere. What you'll see now is that obviously on a lot of food items you can pick up, and you'll see that they have a little nutritional label, and the nutritional label will reveal how many calories in a certain amount of serving size is present in that particular food. And if you go to restaurants now, you'll notice that a lot of restaurants will start putting the amount of calories in their dishes so that people can start making more informed choices when they are eating out. And these are all components that are really, really critical to maintaining our a weight loss program. So we've already talked a little bit about energy intake and how to manage that and kind of making the right choices. But now we also have to consider, okay, energy expenditure. How can I increase my energy expenditure? And this is something that I believe Nemanja can tell us a little bit more about.
Thank you, Mr. Arta. I appreciate your introduction. I find it a very interesting topic, and I'm glad that we have this many participants at the moment. So as you hear my colleague Arta, he explained what is the caloric input and how we could coordinate and be smarter with our daily plans. Also, energy expenditure is a part of the same topic. If you really have a goal to lose the weight, we'll try to be very simple here, because just to say something maybe interesting for all of you, it's about habits. It's scientifically proven that you need 21 days basically to change the habit and recreate it or build a new habit. So everything starts in this case with the weight loss with the food, and that's a primary thing. But to create a habit with the food and create a different day, it is important to be physically active as well. But this is also where you're going to increase the energy expenditure as well. Now, in the sports or recreation, we have two basic things to add in being active. That means you have structured exercise and you have unstructured exercise. Structured exercise are the exercise that you all are familiar with. You see it online, on YouTube, on TV, on magazines. These are the gym workouts. Doesn't matter if they're strength workouts, endurance workouts, so many aerobic or cardio workouts, functional exercise, kickboxing, boxing, or any type of the sports and activities. So basically, structured exercise are performed with the underlying purpose of end goal. So over there, you have some kind of plan throughout the week or month or year, or you're doing alone, or you're doing a personal trainer, or you're doing with a certain colleagues or friends. Now, typically, time is set aside. Also, routine is documented, so you follow and you track your progress daily and weekly. And this is the structure, means you know what you're doing, you have certain plan. Now, I gotta add that we have extremely good gym facilities from my point of view and my experience, and all of this, what we mentioned right now, if you're a community member or part of the ADU family, you can really utilize and any type of the exercise, except for example, structured exercise, you can actually execute in any of our gyms. The second part, Arta, if you can go with the next slide. Thank you. Is unstructured exercise, which is basically daily activities you perform on a daily basis. So this is the amount that steps that you take during the day, going from the building to the work or school to the bus or whatever, you're climbing the stairs in the building and whatever. So those are something that you anyway you're gonna do by just waking up in the morning. Now these days it's easy actually to track, and you have many colleagues at the university that actually have smartphones and smartwatches. So it's really easy to track, and it will give you the calculation of your caloric expenditure as well. So it could give you a nice breakdown of how much food you can actually balance in it. Now, to move to the next slide. This is the part where actually we all need to start to think about it, and that's why we input this topic of exercise within the weight loss. Because to exercise and to be active with this structured and unstructured exercise, you need to understand how to prepare yourself. So developing the right exercise program is a key element, and that supplements well the diet that you plan to input for a certain period of time. Which means the key components in this case are goals. So we all know in order to start anything, I gotta have some goal, I gotta have some motive, I gotta have some time range that I wanna achieve. So basically before starting to do anything, each individual have different goal, and based on that goal, I'll start preparing my workout plan and diet. Now, after the goals, when we know what we want to achieve, in this case, to lose the weight, we wanna know our physical activity readiness. This is PAR-Q test. It's a basic test. I don't know if you guys heard about it. Those who are going to the gym or being active athletes before, or ex-athletes, they know, and it's online, you can find it. It's a basic test where actually you need to understand yourself before you start to work out. So is there any underlying medical issue, for example, with the joints, with the muscles, with the ligaments? Are you taking any prescribed medications? For the female, are they pregnant? There's so many things you need to know before you start crafting your workout plan. These are the questions that will be asked if you go to the gym and work with a professional personal trainer. These are the questions that must be asked. And this is how we guide our let's say clients. When I was a personal trainer, this is how we guide, and this is how we control certain things and make sure everything is safe. Safety first, yep. Now, the third thing, and third component is the self-assessment. Now, I add this element as an ex-personal trainer, but I want you to be able to self-assess yourself as well, and from the perspective of a personal trainer, which means you need to go through the anthropometric measurements. For those one who don't know those, just few of them are anthropometric measurements such as size, shape, composition of the human body. These things you collect when you go to the gym in an in-body machine. I don't know how many of you guys had experience in body analyze machine, but this is where you get those basic guidance like a weight, waist keep ratio, body fat, muscle mass, and so on. Now, the second thing is measuring muscle circumference. This is something that you can do manually, and you have many ways online to actually follow the tutorials how to do it by yourself, to be able to understand the size of your muscles in the body, and to be able later on to understand how you progress, in which way you progress. I believe these things are very important, especially after, let's say, a certain period of time of your workout plan, to evaluate what was the starting point and where you are right now. So if the progress is really visible, then satisfaction momentum psychologically will be great. And if the progress is not so great, visible, then at least you can coordinate and try to change certain things in your plan in order to get the better results. And the third thing in self-assessment that can be is body mass index and waist keep ratio. This also can be measured by the measuring tape. And online, you have so many options to see what actually is desirable for somebody like you, for your body type, your age, and gender. Now, maybe from the self-assessment point, it is important to have cardio fitness assessment, 1 repetition max, muscular endurance, and flexibility. I'm not going to talk about muscular strength because in this case, for the weight loss, it's not so significant as I believe so. It's a more focused thing. But in cardio fitness, it's essential fitness and measure. It equals how well your body can perform rhythmic or dynamic activity at a moderate or high intensity for a period of time. So this is where my colleague actually, where Arta will talk about it in the next few slides as well, about the heart rate and heart rate zones. Maybe you guys know, but heart rate, understanding your resting heart rate and maximum heart rate is important in a fitness and sport, especially if you are having certain goal like weight loss. There is by the science, as we know right now, there's a certain percentage of the activity, intensity of the activity and heart rate that you need to achieve in order to be on the zone and your threshold be on the zone where you're actually burning the fat as an energy source. Now, the maximum heart rate, guys, you can easily measure by 200 minus your age. And that will determine your maximum heart rate. The resting heart rate, you can easily check right now and check in 10 seconds, your heart beat and multiply by 6, and that's going to be your resting heart rate. Now, everything in between is a capacity that you have that can guide you in a certain direction. For example, if your heart rate maximum Marta is 190, if I believe so, if I tell you that you need to work out on the 70% of your maximum heart rate, how much will that be?
So I have to do 70% multiplied by 190.
Yes. It's between. You can give me the range.
Oh, you want me to tell you? Oh, I'm sorry. So it would be around maybe like 150 kind of area.
Okay, between 150 and 160, let's say. This is the range for you where you're actually going to start using the fat in the essence for the energy, because it's going to be cardio endurance training more likely. This is something that it is important to know, and I didn't put it right now on this slide, but you have so many options to calculate your heart rate zones online, and it can give you a good guidance how to start with your workout plans. Mm-hmm. Now, muscular endurance there are many ways to actually measure your muscular strength and endurance. Some basic options that maybe you guys had the opportunity to go through are, let's say, exercises like plank, like body weight squats, like lunges, walking lunges, like push-ups, sit-ups, those kind of stuff. Those are the exercises that are not going to create any potential injury, especially for the beginners, but it will determine on how good shape you are in the essence in the upper body, abdominal area or lower body. And it can determine you well in which direction you should craft your workout plan. Or even if you have a professional, you will know more how to communicate with him and understand what he's telling you for the money that you paid over there. Also, muscle endurance is ability to of a muscle to perform repetitive contraction against a force for an extended period of time. This is a definition pure that you can take on any online portal. Now, the last thing potentially in this self-assessment is flexibility. This is a part that we all lack of it, except the professional athletes who have to be flexible in order to perform high demanding intensity of the sport that they play. But flexibility is something that actually will lead us into the healthy activity for a long period of time. And it will give us opportunity to regenerate the muscles, if I can say so, in the end of the workout and prepare you better for the next your workout plan. As a part of the key components, and the very last one in this slide is personal training design. This is something that most of the people they know partly that there is a gym, that there is some exercise over there, and that they can do certain exercise that they saw earlier or they performed during the school days or university days, and they saw it online on TV or something like that. What you need to know with the personal training design is that every personal training that you do, whenever you go to the gym, have to have certain structure. Structure means that there are certain phases in your workout that need to be achieved in order to have the proper solid workout. Every workout will start with a warm-up or dynamic stretching. If you go on YouTube, you will easily find some options for the warm-up, but let's say the simplest way is to go for the treadmill, cross trainer, concept rower, anything that will activate the body and increase the heart rate initially and get some sweat on. It can last for 5-6 minutes. Anyway, it's better than nothing before you start to work out the muscle groups that you plan. What I suggest after the warm-up through the treadmill, for example, is to do a few minutes of dynamic stretching. These are the few exercises like plank, like jumping jacks, like lunges with a torso twist that actually can activate the muscle group that you're going to do those days. And it will increase the heart rate even more and get you ready for the workout and give you opportunity to run the blood through the system and make sure that you can stretch better before the workout. Now, this is the first part of the training. The second part, and which is in my book, second part by my experience, is the stability part, which is the core, abdominal area. Because most of the people that we know in the university, their habits are sitting in the office for most of the day. And then if they're not sitting in the office, they go to the car and go home and they're sitting in the car. And then once they reach home, they want to rest and then sit more. So basically it's a sitting day for most of us. That's why I believe the core is a vital part of the human body where actually everything starts. If you manage to improve the capacity and strength of your core, that means you give the potential for everything else. Now, the core, to be very specific, is the front part of the abdominal area, or if everybody knows that six packs, it's a popular term. You have the lateral side of the core, which is obliques, and you have the low back. Everything included have to be in one package. So whatever you do in your workout for the core have to be balanced, which means have to involve all three areas equally to get the full potential of it. Now, what I put the core as a second phase of the personal training is that it will give you a great preparation for any type of the workout that you want to do after that. And also, after the core exercise, you can stretch a little bit and prepare your muscles. Now, the main part of the session, it's a phase 3, which is a compound exercise or complex exercise. So just to give you a short, brief, compound exercise are those exercises that you do, the big one like push-up, pull-ups, dips, bench press, lat machine, all those big muscle groups that you have on the back, on the chest, your legs. Those are the compound exercises. It's very easy to actually type this term on the YouTube or Google, and you'll get the list of the exercise that you can actually use to create your workout plan. Now, this is for the beginners, better to start with, and it's a more control regarding your heart rate and energy. But also you have option of complex exercise, which in the essence are for a bit more advanced gym users, which means those are the people who already have a good solid endurance and muscle strength and knowledge, technical knowledge of the each exercise and machines and environment in the gym. They know how to control themselves and get the rest and hit the exercise when it's needed. So complex exercise are essentially my favorite because for the shorter period of time, you can actually utilize way more the muscles of your body, and it includes more, let's say, more exercise in one set, if I can say so. Now, examples of complex exercise are as well on YouTube available. I suggest to start in only after, like, let's say, a month or two of preparation with a compound exercise, when you feel that you actually progressed enough and you see that your progress is visible and you feel that your strength is not compromised for your technique, this is the moment where actually you can change a little bit your workout plan and input the complex exercise. This is the main part of your workout, and this is where actually you're crafting your goal. This is where your goal will be placed in one or another direction. Now, what I put as a phase 4 in the training design is isolation or unilateral exercise. Isolations are basically the exercise where usually you work on small muscle groups like biceps, triceps, shoulders, and so on. These can be a part of the main part of the workout, but also for the beginners, I think it's good to separate and focus on them specifically because they don't require so much energy output. They are more focused on the shaping of the muscle and focus on the strength of that particular muscle. Now, if you guys didn't hear about the term unilateral exercise, these are the exercises that usually you guys can see when somebody using only one part of the body. This is where you actually can emphasize only one muscle group, and actually you can you reach certain plateau, let's say in the shoulder press, and then you try to go above that, then you focus only on one side in order to gain more strength of that particular muscle. Also, it's so easy to type and see online all of the options. Now, first 4 phases of the personal training design are, let's say, must. Warm-up, stability or core, compound exercise, complex exercise, and isolation. Everything can be mixed in certain way after the warm-up. There is no mistakes in that. Just to make sure I put it here in the phases because it's easier for beginners to track that. Later on, you can input the core exercise into the compound exercise and mix it up with the supersets and so on. But nothing before these 4 phases are not, let's say, we're not going to give you the highest potential if you avoid the phase number 5, which is a cool down and stretching. This is the part that most of the people are avoiding. Even if they finish the gym, doesn't matter if it's like a moderate activity or high intensive activity, they just go to the locker room, shower, and go home, which is a mistake. And any professional, sports professional will tell you that the essential thing after the workout is to cool down and prepare you basically to reduce your heart rate closer to the resting heart rate. And also to go mentally from the zone of the workout, and also prepare your body for the stretching, where you need to stretch your muscles, mobilize your joints, make sure the blood is running through, the oxygen is coming to the muscle. And this is going to give you the opportunity to prepare better for the next workout and have a longer period of time without injuries, let's say safe. Now, key components, we can talk about this most probably next few days, but we are limited with the time today. And this is our first workshop where we want to try also to get some feedback from you guys. Key components are essential for the workout plan, but to go back previously to the beginning of the exercise part is the heart rate. As we talk about it, the maximum heart rate roughly calculated as 220 minus your age. This is going to estimate your maximum heart rate. Limit of your cardiovascular system can handle during the physical activity. Now, targeted heart rate calculator, you can find it on any online platform. Here we put out the basics, which will guide you. If you can see the heart rate on the left side, the effort percentage in the middle, and the effect. So if we talk about weight loss, most likely, if you see 60-70% of your heart rate is a temperate zone, improves basic endurance and fat burning. Now, obviously, it depends of the age, of the gender, of the abilities, are you being active before or not, or you just beginner. All these factors are included, but this is the basic for you to understand where to start, or at least how to search online certain answers to how to guide your own workout plan. Now, everything that I just said about workout and understanding how to prepare for the exercise is a supplement to whatever Arta was mentioning about the food and diet. Only 2 of those can actually maximize the potential of your goal. This is the part that I was taking. So Arta, please continue with the rest of the
sure,
slide.
I'm just going to stop right here because we have some questions that I would love to be able to address.
Okay.
So I see the first question here that we have is salmon fish carrying coronavirus? Nemanja, if it's okay, I'll take the lead on this one. So neither Nemanja and I are not pathologists to be able to tell you the accurate information regarding how coronavirus manifests itself in fish. What I can tell you from my own personal experience, and again, I'm not a doctor, but what I can tell you from my own personal experience is the viruses are killed off generally at around 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. And if you're cooking fish, that is generally the temperature that you will get to or greater. So that's not really something that you have to be too worried about. But again, by all means, consult a doctor, consult a professional to make sure. But my understanding of it from the research I've done is that is, in essence, how you can avoid dealing with viruses or even bacteria in general within foods. The next question that we have here is, how can we manage to make equivalent energy? And I believe what you're referring to is, how do we maintain our, let's say, weight or our energy throughout a day with both exercise and energy expenditure. So here in this element, really, the key thing that you have to keep in mind is that if you want to maintain equivalent energy levels, then you have to understand how many calories you're taking in and then how many calories you're expending. So mixing what Nemanja has mentioned in terms of creating your own structured exercise program, however you choose to go about it, that will expend a certain amount of energy when you are working out. And in return, you have to balance that with how much food that you are eating or how much energy you're taking in per day. And that's something that we can kind of give you a little bit more insight on in our last two slides. So if it's okay, with the last two questions, I'm definitely going to come back to it, but I just want to address this question because I think it leads perfectly into what our last two kind of slides are about, which is, how do I know how much energy I'm expending? And this is a really, really difficult thing to grasp, especially if you don't have a device that can kind of tell you a little bit more about what is going on inside your body. So remember that you have activity trackers like Fitbits, you have smartwatches like Apple Watches or Samsung Watches, and of course you have mobile apps that are present on all our smartphones. And these are great tools, they really are. But the thing to keep in mind is that this is just a device that's using a formula to guess what is going on inside of you. Each person, each individual is different. You will react differently to exercise programs. So when you are reading the number of calories that you've expended, don't take it as that is absolutely the correct number, because research has shown that these devices can be anywhere between 20% to 40% off in how accurate they are. So when you're working with a 20 to 40% margin of error, that's pretty big. And it's important that you don't solely rely on these devices as your tool to tell you, okay, I'm in my ideal energy expenditure zone, or I'm in my ideal energy intake zone, whatever it may be. So just be careful. I'm not saying don't rely on them at all, because I myself have one and I use it and it's a great tool. I'm just saying is that don't bank on it, because it's still very, very important that you oversee and watch how much energy you're expending and make sure that you're consistent with your efforts in your energy expenditure activities, whether it's the gym or you're walking, whatever it may be that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And lastly, of course, how do I know how much energy I'm intaking, which is also just as important. So with this, it's about reading food labels like we discussed at the very, very beginning, talking about calories. So you'll see that on food labels, you'll have this little square section that tells you about the nutritional facts. And the nutritional facts will break down the serving size of the item and then the servings per container, which means that in that entire box, you have 2 servings of whatever this is. So let's say, for example, this is cereal, then there's 2 servings of cereal inside this box. And each serving is 250 calories. So you know now that if I go and I pour this box of cereal into a cup, I can get 1 cup and I pour that into my bowl. And I eat my bowl of cereal, I know that I've taken in 250 calories of this particular cereal or whatever it is that you may be eating. Now you can go further with that if you're interested and start looking at the macronutrient breakdown. We're talking about the amount of fats, the amount of carbohydrates, the amount of protein, and then there's also the minerals that you can get into. But this is not something I'm going to burden you with right now. That's something that you can look into further if you are really, really devoted into developing your own specific weight loss program. But what I will discuss are mobile apps, which I think are really, really helpful. These are apps like MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is a free app that you can get on your phone. There's no charge for using it. And what's really great about it is that it will use the camera on your phone to scan the barcodes that are found on foods. And you can then use that information. It draws from a database that is on MyFitnessPal already, and it'll tell you, okay, for example, this you're looking at right now is a chocolate bar, and this chocolate bar is 160 calories. So right away, you know exactly how many calories you're getting from that chocolate bar, and you can decide, okay, am I going to eat the entire thing? Am I going to eat half of it? Whatever it may be. And this way, you're making more informed choices when you are trying to lose weight. So that, in essence, is our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, now we're going to be taking your questions. So again, don't be shy. Feel free to ask us any question. I'm just going to go back to our Q&A section and address some of the questions that are placed here. So the next question is, does nutrition go in parallel with exercising? I.e., if I eat more, I need to exercise longer. And Nemanja, I'll let you answer this one, if that's okay.
Does nutrition go in parallel with exercise? Yes, of course, it goes parallel with exercise. This is a simple answer. If you eat more, that depends also on the what you eat. As Art explained, there is a certain caloric values that you need to be aware. That doesn't mean necessarily that if you eat more, that you're going to have more calorie input in your body. The thing is that you need to try to create a balance between the output, which is created by the workout, and between the intake, which is created by your food. The perfect balance is possible. I think, Arta, if I can say, there are a few websites that you can follow over there. You can input some of your basic informations, age, weight, desired, let's say, goal, and everything else, and then certain food or diet plan that will give you a calculation of how much proteins, carbs, or other nutrients you should have during the day in order to supplement the workout. In this case, the balance, for me, the balance is required. Yes, if you eat more calorie strong food, you definitely have to exercise, maybe not longer, but more intensive, if I can say, because you can exercise for an hour in a certain intensity, like let's say 50 or 60% of your maximum, and let's say spend a certain amount of energy, and then you can exercise for 45 minutes with a complex exercise, which is heavily demanding on the energy output, and you can spend way more, let's say, calories for that exercise. So basically, also the type of the exercise that you use, it will determine how much calories you will expend or spend. Also, Arta, the next question, if I can say, any exercise that makes me gain weight? Yes, definitely. Make you gain weight means that your muscle grow. There's if you, for example, do use the free weights, in the essence, this is where the people who actually are having the goal, not the weight loss in the essence, they have a goal to bulk, to gain muscle mass. Thus, this is what we call in the fitness industry like a beach body. Yes, those things are possible with the basic free weights like squats, deadlifts, bench press, and so on. But those are the methods of the workout. This is something that everybody can just dig a little bit more deeper into the internet and search a little bit. There are good articles over there about that.
Excellent. I'm just going to look at the chat as well, because I see a question here from someone that says, how can we increase metabolism and reduce food cravings? So this is a very, very loaded question. So I'm going to do my best to try to give you some fundamental concepts to keep in mind. When you're talking about increasing metabolism, what you want to do is obviously build more lean body mass, and especially muscle mass specifically within your body, because the more muscle mass that you have, the greater the rate of metabolism that you can generate within your body. So that means that you have to develop a resistance training protocol for yourself that will allow you to build that muscle mass. And you got to complement that with the right diet. So that relates to your reducing of food cravings. So generally speaking, diets that are well known around the world right now is this kind of ketogenic diet. This is very, very popular right now. And it's everyone swears by it and says that it's a great program. And although me, myself, I think it's great. It's shown to benefit a lot of people. One thing to keep in mind is that this basically, in essence, what this diet is about is significantly increasing the amount of protein you take in and really reducing the amount of carbohydrates. And the positive side of this is that when you increase the amount of protein in your diets, what you're doing is you're eating more, let's say, meats, and these meats in turn, they release, they allow for you to feel full faster. So I could eat, for example, let's say 200 grams of chicken, and then I could eat 200 grams of pasta. The chicken, I will feel full at 100 grams. I'll feel full. I'll be like, I'm enough. I don't need to eat any more food. But if I could eat 200 grams of pasta and still be like, I want more. Because the thing is that carbohydrates don't give you that satiety that you need, that protein does. And that's why protein is like high protein diets are really, really encouraged when you're trying to lose weight. And that in itself will also complement you increasing your metabolism because you'll have matched it with an exercise training program, which will help you build muscle and more muscle mass. So those two together can hopefully be the strategy you use to increase metabolism and reduce your food cravings. So now we're going to go back to, yeah.
There is a question here. Do you recommend supplements like protein powders, etc., to those who hit on the gym? Now, to be perfectly honest, personally, I'm not the guy who recommends any supplements outside of the regular food diet. I believe that you can do a lot with just adjusting your food plans. As Arta explained, the quality of the food source that you input in your diet will actually give you essential, let's say, potential for growth. If and when you actually work out for a certain period of time and your food plan is actually perfect for the goal that you set, for example, then you hit certain threshold and you reach certain, let's say, limit. This is the area where most of the trainers who actually understand this topic are going to the supplements, where you can add, as you mentioned over there, protein powder into your as a supplement to your diet. Now, I'm not in favor of that, but certainly this is not something which is not happening. It's happening in the world. It's very active. It's a big industry. And even if you take, let's say you take the protein powder, but I'm saying only after the certain period of time where you actually improve your food intake and the quality of the nutrients that you take and, with your workout, and then you hit certain plateau, then you can maybe consider thinking about adding certain supplements for the period of time again. My knowledge, humble knowledge from the fitness industry, is that even if you take protein powder as a supplement, should be limited with the time, let's say a month or two, and then try to, let's say, extend that plateau. This is the answer about it. I'm not recommending it, but I believe at some point people are in position to take it, and then it's better to know than not to be aware.
Awesome. I see another question here. It says, if I maintain a calorie deficit, does the type of food I eat matter? This is a good question, actually, because there's a lot of people who will opt to eat whatever it is that they choose to eat, whether it's junk food or a balanced diet, but they just try to eat very, very small amounts of it and try to stay in a caloric deficit and intend to lose weight. Now, in theory, the idea does work, yes, but in practice, it's very, very difficult, and it's not something I recommend because it's not easy to adhere to. The whole idea of weight loss and calorie deficit is that you do it in a manageable way. A lot of people want to take shortcuts. They just want to cut calories, go for like 1,000 to 500 calories for like 2 weeks, lose all the weight, and then they think they can go back to normal. And the problem with that is that you haven't gradually adjusted yourself so that you can maintain your weight loss. This is not a race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So you have to understand that whenever you develop a strategy or a protocol, whatever it may be, you got to do it in a way that allows you to gradually succeed and for you to actually enjoy the process. And I know that sounds kind of crazy to enjoy the process of weight loss, but the fact is that you have to be able to appreciate what work you're putting in, what adjustments you're making, because if you don't, then you can lose weight. Absolutely, you can, and go on a really strict calorie deficit, but you're going to gain that weight right back. And a lot of people suffer with what's called yo-yo dieting. So they'll eat whatever they want, and then they realize, oh, I'm gaining weight, and then they'll just not eat, and then they'll lose the weight, and then they'll go back to doing the same thing they did before, gain the weight again, and just keep going in a circle, So if you're going to do a calorie deficit, I suggest you do it in first of all, you figure out how many calories you need, which there are websites that if you Google, just say my basal metabolic rate. That's one of the fundamental components you need to figure out if you're going to figure out how many calories you need per day. And based off of that, you figure out how many calories your body expends just by living, your heart beating, your lungs inflating, your brain functioning. You add that to your daily expenditure, walking, exercising, whatever it is that you do. You get a number. Let's say that number is 2,200. From that number, you figure out, okay, I just need to eat 2,000 calories. That means I'm in a deficit of 200 every single day. Over time, you will lose the weight. Will you lose the weight in a month? No. Will you lose the weight over the course of a year? Yes, but in that year, you'll keep that weight off. It won't come back on. And that's the key to having a successful weight loss program.
Okay, so I believe we have questions where how I do balance between my food as well as with the exercise, as I have blood pressure, I believe so.
Yes.
This is a thing that I have to say about blood pressure. Definitely, scientifically, it's proven that regular physical activity in a certain period of time will reduce the blood pressure by just simply strengthening the heart. Your exercise will stronger the heart muscle, which will lead to the easier, let's say, overcoming the stress caused by the exercise. And this is connected with reducing the blood pressure. But definitely the food balance. I mean, let's not make a mistake and say, okay, I will continue to eat my 5,000 calorie diet during the day with all this, chocolate spread and whatever I'm taking, the Coca-Cola or I don't know. And then I'm going to go to the gym and everything will be okay. No, it's not, because the quality of the nutrients that you input in your body are actually determine the potential that you're going to have in your workout. Workout can have, and workout is a supplement, and exercise is a supplement of the food habits. So primary, you need to make sure that you control your food intake by certain nutrients will not going to increase the blood pressure. And then going into the direction of having the regular physical activity, which is a moderate physical activity, will lead you in the long term in start to reducing the blood pressure. This is the basic that I know about that, even though that and myself and Arta, we are not the doctors. Even the title here, front of my name say that I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm a sports person, and we know as much. So for the certain things, you have to also communicate with the professionals like nutritionists and specialists in the area of the food and health. So it is needed. Maybe we forgot to say that, but under the physical activity readiness, it is the suggestions from the doctor. So basically, doctor should be the one to tell you should you go for the workout and so on. Should you organize your workout, your food plan, and so on. That's also a factor.
If food is not giving the results I want, can I go for supplements? I think that this is something that, Nemanja already touched on. But I will just give a little bit more additional information. I think that, again, in terms of you understanding your timeline is very, very important. The common issue I see is that people just want the results right away. And so I think that if you develop a nutritional program for yourself and you find that after 2 weeks, you are not seeing any kind of changes for yourself, 2 weeks is a significant period of time, especially if you're considering that you're looking to drop sorry, I shouldn't say 2 weeks, I should say a month. Because if you're looking to only set a calorie deficit of, let's say, 200 calories for a month, after a month, that should be 30 days, 200 calories. So that's about 6,000 calories you should be in a deficit in total over that period of time. And 3,500 calories equates to about 1 kilogram of fat. So in that month, you should lose close to 1.5 kilos, right? So that's the natural and the most effective way of doing it, just because it does take time, but you keep that weight off because you're doing it gradually. So that's the kind of the thing to keep in mind. Food and supplements, what you're saying is that if food is not working for you, to take supplements, but the supplements are really just synthetic items that you take if you're not getting enough of a certain nutrient. It's not supposed to be a substitute for food. So just try to keep that in mind as well. All right. More additional or any advice for blood pressure? Again, as the Manya said, I think that neither one of us are experts in blood pressure, but what I can tell you generally, again, exercise, and especially exercise, as the Manya mentioned, between, let's say 60 to 70% of your heart rate has shown to help alleviate issues concerning blood pressure or heart disease, whatever it may be. So integrating
not immediately.
Oh, of course.
Not immediately. Of course
not.
A certain period of time we need to.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It's not immediately. It's definitely something that needs to be consistently practiced over time. Imani, you want to take the next question? So sorry.
There is a question, I believe. I don't like to exercise, but I know it's important. What should I do? Like we know already that a certain population doesn't like to exercise, but it's suggested by the doctor or whoever, and you maybe by yourself figure out that you need to change something in your life. Now, exercising, I have to say, exercise in a wrong way doesn't give you much space to like the exercise. Exercise in the right way with a food plan and giving yourself a proper time to see the progress actually is the key. You need to be patient with the food plan, and you need to be patient with the exercise. And also, you need to find the best possible option for your workout plan. I suggest strongly to those who have the opportunity to use the personal trainer, actually educated personal trainer, is actually if they have problem to start to exercise, they don't like it, it's good to have that kind of structure, to have somebody who will assess you, work with you psychologically and physically, and being able to follow your progress and giving you that needed direction in exercise that you can actually handle, that you can actually be satisfied with. And then once you have that, after the, let's say 3 to 6 months, once you start seeing the results over there, I think that things start to change. By my experience with the people and the people that I work with, especially in fitness industry, they start to like certain things more than before. I'm not saying they suddenly start to be like 100% active and everything else, but simply they are aware that the health is a big thing in their life, and if they want to maintain healthy for their family and their self and friends and work, then they have to make some changes. I'm not saying you need to like it, but there's a certain way to approach to this issue in order to find the best solution for your, let's say, character, if I can say so. Gym doesn't need to be the only source of the exercise, guys. Don't mix this. Certain exercise can be done through the group competition. If you go to the futsal, if you go for the swimming, if you go for the jogging, if you go for the horse riding, if you can hear it's really like available. These are also the exercise that actually create certain satisfaction and also create certain caloric expenditure. So do not focus only on the gym if you don't like the weights. This is my suggestion. Explore and try and test. If the gym is the only thing that actually you can go to, then explore the option of having the personal trainer. Also the stress, I have a question. I have heard that the stress is a threat while exercising. I mean, from the part that we know, Arta, if I can say, the stress is also as a blood pressure possible to reduce through the workout, because workout is not just a muscle developer, it's also activates certain hormones in a human body, which will bring you to the situation where you actually feel satisfied by achieving something. So if I understood well the question of the stress, like the mental stress, actually all the doctors and specialists will tell you that exercise should be a part of your cure in the long term. So also the regular exercise, and especially fun exercise or group exercise where you actually socialize, it can reduce the stress. In the gym, stress, the workout stress is controlled by the heart rate and the intensity of the exercise that you do.
There's some earlier questions that we just missed. I just want to touch on those before we get to the last few. What precautions should seniors take into consideration when starting a new exercise program? Nemanja, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So for the seniors, I believe, I mean, this is a nice question. It's a good question because the seniors also have to. This document can actually help seniors a lot because it will give you the guidance how you should prepare yourself. So there is a section of the food and planning the food diet plan, and there is also a section about the exercise. Now, senior who have exercised in the past will understand himself better and be able to craft something. The senior who's a beginner, then I suggest to go with a professional. Now, if you don't have professional, then you should go for the basic notes that you have on this document, because this document, I believe, Arta, I don't know if we're going to share with the participants and attendees, this document can be a guide. So seniors have to have first physical activity readiness test where they will have a clear guidance from the doctor that certain things should be done in such a way, in a specific way. And then with that, they should go and implement the program and start building the program. For the seniors, everything have to go very, very step by step.
Awesome. Do frozen foods like meat, chicken still provide nutrients when cooked? Yes, that's not really something that you have to really worry about. I understand the concern, but as much as we would all love to be able to organically take the meat once it's harvested and be able to cook it right away, obviously, just considering the way our society works, it's not something that we are able to do. But that's not really something you really have to worry about as much. If you're concerned with the best practices in farming and agriculture, that's something that obviously I suggest you do more research in to understand which kind of companies are doing that. But in terms of generally speaking, our frozen foods have less nutrition. No, the idea of freezing is to preserve. That's the whole idea behind it. So when you freeze something, you're preserving it in its state when it was first placed in the freezer. That's the whole idea behind it. So it's nothing that you really have to worry that much about.
Okay, Arta, there's a question. What is the perfect time to exercise during the day? Now, this is a very individual thing. Mm-hmm. So it depends of your character, of your work habits, of your day habits. There's so many factors that are involved, but let's say, ideally, in my mind, how I would work if everything is okay regarding my health, so no issues about blood pressure, no issues, different kind of underlying medical issues. So if everything is like regular, then my suggestion is to listen to yourself. If your energy is greater in the morning and you feel better after that, so you can test that, I will focus then to do the workout very early before I go to the work. But then what I would suggest, I suggest to the people to actually try themselves in, let's say, morning workout, something around on the early afternoon, and one workout in the late afternoon. I do not suggest the workouts after 8 or 9 p.m. in the evening, which is very hard in these days with the works that actually the job finish around 6, so until you reach home, it's already like 8 or 9 p.m. But I do not suggest, because not necessarily you're increasing the heart rate in the period when your body biologically start to relax and go into the phase of the sleeping mood. So I would suggest you to test yourself through the period of week to have a good data. And let's say try 2 or 3 times in the morning, then 2 times in the early afternoon and 2 times in the evening, and it will give you the direction when you should be focused on your workouts. But that's connected strictly with your life organization, work organization. Now, because of the certain age, you cannot manage structural and mobility issues such as injuries, weakness, tight spot. Actually, what do you think about yoga? Is that Is it making body better on some? Yes, definitely. I believe, even though I'm coming from the Europe, the Eastern Europe, the yoga is really big over there right now, and I believe in the rest of the world as well. Any type of the activity, guys, whatever you do additionally on the top of everything that you do during the day should be good for you in the essence, if it's a normal rate. So yoga is excellent in my point of view, and the experience that the people are actually doing yoga is great, especially after a certain period of time where they manage to overcome certain beginning or the difficulties in the beginning of the motion. It creates a certain endurance. It creates a great flexibility. It strengthens the muscle, and it works also mentally. I think yoga is great to start with in the end of the day, or it's a great just to be as exercise itself. Just to say, Arta, before you go for the last one, because at a certain age, we cannot manage structural and mobility
I think this is
issues.
relating to the seniors question, Nemanja.
Yeah.
I think this is what the
So
referring to.
I believe so. So I understand at a certain age, even I feel it right now, believe it or not, I'm 38. So things are different now. And when I was 22, what I'm trying to say, yes, there are certain limitations in the range of motion, but to just add on a topic of the self-assessment, there is a way to assess your, it's a functional motion. So basically you can assess the range of motion of your joints, ligaments, and how far the muscle can stretch. And improving that element itself can also benefit of having more opportunities in a workout later on. So flexibility and range of motion and mobility improves. Doesn't matter which age. If you improve it in a certain period of time, it can lead you to the greater opportunities regarding the basic workouts. So I will always suggest the flexibility and mobility exercise in the essence for the elderly people first. Also, yoga can be a great, as somebody mentioned before, also yoga can be a great tool to improve that essential part that you need as elderly person in order to get to the gym much safer and readier for the different type of the workout.
So our last question is, what are some simple things that people can do in their day-to-day routine besides working out to see results faster? So a very, very basic kind of solution to this is to become a little bit more inefficient. And generally what that means is that, for example, if I'm putting away my laundry, rather than taking 5 t-shirts at once to put them all away, I will pick up one t-shirt, go put it away, come back again, pick up another t-shirt, walk, put it away. And just that act of me walking back and forth, that extra 5 times, because I have 5 t-shirts, as opposed to just taking all 5 at once and putting them back, that makes my process a little bit more inefficient, which means I have to expend more calories in order to execute this action. And then things like Nemanja discussed before, things like taking the stairs, walking more from place to place as opposed to taking a taxi. And again, I know in Dubai the UAE, that's not such a easy thing to do considering the heat. But generally speaking, there are obviously always other avenues and other ways we can take it. If you're going to the mall, don't take those standing escalators. Try to walk more. Try to take the stairs more. Whatever it may be, whatever opportunity you can find, take the longer route around to go to the shop that you want to go to, whatever it may be. These are all strategies. There's always something that can be done. And I think the last thing I would say to everybody who's still listening is that something is always better than nothing. So if you think that, there's no point in me trying because I can't go to the gym or I can't do this, I would say cut that kind of talk out of your mind, because if you can even just do 5 minutes, 2 minutes, you start there and you build it to 10, you build it to 15, you build it to 20, that is something. And something is always better than nothing at all.
I will add one more thing, very important to this last question and the last answer that Arta was giving, is actually look at it this way. I'm also from the finance, so I like the numbers. If your working day is let's say 15 hours active, which means you wake up and then you have 15 hours of activity throughout the day, different kind of like family, work, and so on. And then you sleep for 9 hours or whatever. If you just add 1 hour additional by waking up earlier in the morning, it will add you in a week time 7 hours of more activity. So multiply by 4 of 4 weeks, how much Arta that will be?
24.
7 hours multiplied by 4.
Oh, 7 hours multiplied by 4, sorry.
Yeah,
6.
20. It's 1 full day you get additional of being active. So to answer the last question of the person who actually mentioned how day-to-day routine can affect, this is the easiest way. So if you, instead of you waking up at 7 a.m., you wake up at 6 a.m. and start all your activities with that. Of course, sometimes people, when they woke up early, they want to lay earlier, and that's a factor. But I'm just saying, and overall, if you add 1 more hour additional during the day to be active and to be wake up, basically, it will add a lot during the month, as we calculated 28 hours additional during the month. We can close it with that.
Yes.
Thank you, Iman, and thank you, Arta. I think you are the 2 people I should see at the university. I think I was talking to the wrong people. I think you have a solution to my problems, maybe, or challenges. It was very informative. I think we learned a lot from this one, and it's very important to take care of our health. It's not only work and other things which we do. So thank you for that, and hope the audience found it useful. And thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow for other sessions.
Thank you, Dr. Hamad. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice day, nice evening.
Take care.